Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and every computer, smartphone, and AI system in the world has suddenly vanished. Just gone. No internet, no GPS navigation, no video games. Everything we depend on to run our modern world wiped out in an absolute instant. It really makes you wonder, right? Like, how did we get so incredibly dependent on this technology? And maybe more importantly, where did it all begin? Okay, let's dive into this and trace the totally fascinating history of how this all started. When we think about the dawn of computers, our minds almost instantly jump to glowing screens, clacking keyboards, maybe some of those classic 80s aesthetics. But you know what? The foundation of modern computing didn't start in some high-tech lab or a Silicon Valley garage. It actually began over 5,000 years ago, and it didn't use electricity at all. It relied entirely on simple stones and human ingenuity.
We're looking at a massive chronological leap here, spanning 5 entire millennia. We go from the ancient Abacus right into the mechanical engines of the 1800s, then to the massive electronic behemoths of the 1940s, and finally right up to the smartphones and AI we use today. Now, at first glance, these eras might seem totally disconnected, but the core DNA of computing, that fundamental concept of processing information, has actually evolved in a straight, unbroken line over thousands of years to bring us to the present day.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it connects the past to the present. Think about the humble abacus. It's an ancient calculating tool using movable beads on wooden rods. Here's the mind-blowing part, though. The core logic behind this influenced literally everything that followed. Moving a physical bead up or down on a rod to represent a specific state, that is conceptually identical to flipping a digital transistor on or off inside a modern microchip. Thousands of years ago, merchants realized they could store and process data physically. That foundational idea, manipulating discrete physical objects to calculate information, is the absolute bedrock of modern computing. Section 1. Dreaming the Impossible Machine. So, let's fast forward from ancient trade routes to the smoggy, industrial streets of the 1800s. A brilliant English mathematician named Charles Babbage asked a simple but completely revolutionary question. What if a machine could perform calculations automatically? Babbage didn't just ask the question either. He designed a giant mechanical computer called the difference engine, and then he dreamed even bigger with his blueprints for the analytical engine. Now, Victorian manufacturing couldn't actually build it at the time, but his vision rightfully earned him the title of the father of the computer. And this brilliantly illustrates why he deserves that title. His analytical engine, which remember was designed entirely on paper in the 19th century, featured a processor, memory, input, and output. Guys, that is the exact same fundamental architecture as the device you're using to watch this explainer right now. The materials obviously changed from brass gears and steam to silicon chips and electricity, but that underlying blueprint, it remains completely identical. But Babbage wasn't alone in this grand vision. Among the people fascinated by his ideas was a young, brilliant mathematician named Ada Lovelace. Lovelace looked at Babbage's designs for gears and cogs and realized something truly extraordinary. She predicted that these machines wouldn't just calculate boring numbers all day. She saw that they could one day create music, draw pictures, and solve incredibly complex logistical problems. She was so ahead of her time that she actually wrote the very first algorithm designed specifically for a machine, long before a physical computer even existed. It is absolutely awe-inspiring. And because of this, she's remembered today as the world's very first computer programmer. Section 2. Giant electronic brains. So, the theoretical gears of the Babbage and Lovelace era eventually gave way to the urgent, harsh realities of the 1940s. During World War II, the desperate need to calculate artillery trajectories led to the birth of the ENIAC machine. Get this, it weighed 27 tons. That's roughly the weight of several full-grown elephants. This absolute beast filled an entire room, ran on 18,000 fragile glass vacuum tubes, and consumed so much electricity that rumor actually has it, just turning it on dimmed the streetlights in Philadelphia. To put that into perspective, let's compare that 27-ton behemoth to what we carry around today. While the ENIAC took up an entire room, today's smartphone effortlessly fits right in your pocket. ENIAC used those 18,000 bulky vacuum tubes, while your phone relies on billions of microscopic transistors. And the speed? Well, ENIAC was incredibly slow by today's metrics, while your phone is literally millions of times faster. While ENIAC successfully proved that electronic computing was possible, the trajectory of the decades that followed was a complete inversion. Hardware shrank exponentially, while speed and capability just exploded. Section 3, the microchip revolution.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this miniaturization is the pivotal moment where technology begins to shrink so dramatically, it honestly almost feels like magic. And the evolution of the switch is the true secret behind it. Scientists realized they didn't need huge, incredibly hot vacuum tubes to route information anymore. They replaced them with tiny, solid-state electronic switches called transistors, which made computers smaller, cheaper, and vastly more reliable. Then came the ultimate breakthrough, packing thousands, then millions, and eventually billions of these tiny transistors onto a single, tiny sliver of silicon, the microchip.
And because of that microchip revolution, a massive cultural shift occurred. The computer finally belonged to everyone. During the 1970s and 80s, tech companies fiercely competed to bring computers out of those sterile government labs and right into ordinary living rooms. Suddenly, machines became colorful, they were affordable, and easy for pretty much anyone to use. People could write documents, play games, learn programming, and create amazing things right from their own bedrooms. The digital world had finally opened its doors to the public.
Section 4, the internet in your pocket. If the personal computer gave everyone a digital brain, the internet gave all those individual brains a way to communicate, right? It turned the computer into a globally connected doorway. And incredibly, all of this global connectivity soon shrank down to fit right inside your genes. Just look at the power you have today. You can record high-definition movies, navigate complex cities, translate foreign languages instantly, edit photos, play immersive games, and connect with billions of people. It is staggering to realize that the phone you use to casually scroll through social media has a processor millions of times more powerful than the computers that sent astronauts to the moon. Every single time you tap that screen, you are interacting with a direct legacy of those early wooden Abacus speeds and those massive vacuum tubes.
Section 5, the dawn of AI.
That relentless human ingenuity brings us to this profound new chapter. For thousands of years, from the abacus to the modern smartphone, computers strictly relied on humans to tell them exactly what to do. So the crucial point is, look at what AI can do today. It can accurately recognize faces, seamlessly understand complex speech, write compelling stories, compose music, and even help doctors discover debilitating diseases much earlier than is humanly possible. Computers are no longer limited to just blindly following instructions. They're actively creating, analyzing, and reasoning, basically turning the impossible into everyday reality. As we bring this explainer to a close, I want to leave you with a really important thought. The journey continues. When we look back at the history of computing, it's very easy to get distracted by the brass gears, the glowing tubes, or the sleek silicon chips. But the story of computers isn't really about machines at all. It is fundamentally about people. It's about dreamers like Ada Lovelace, inventors like Charles Babbage, and countless brilliant scientists and engineers who meticulously built upon the ideas of the generations before them. From moving wooden beads on a rod to training complex neural networks in the cloud, humanity's drive to understand and process the world around us has never stopped. Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question. What will computers be able to do 50 years from now? As AI continues its rapid evolution and quantum computing looms on the horizon, the possibilities genuinely seem limitless. The incredible journey from counting stones to artificial intelligence, that's just the prologue of our story. The next great chapter in computer history is unfolding right now. And hey, who knows? Perhaps that chapter will be written by someone watching this very explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and thanks so much for joining me today.